Welcome to Rewind Republic. Today we are going to talk about 7 favorite restaurants from the 1970s that no longer exist. One of them invented the kids' meal, the double burger, and the flame broiler, and McDonald's killed them by taking every single idea. Another had more than 1,000 locations until its own name destroyed it. And one chain filed for bankruptcy, then caused the largest hepatitis outbreak in American history. Hit the like button, and let's start. If you drove anywhere in America in the 1960s and 70s, you knew the orange roof. Howard Johnson's wasn't just a restaurant, it was the restaurant. At its peak, there were over 1,000 locations across the country, making it the largest restaurant chain in the United States. Bigger than McDonald's, bigger than anyone. The menu had 28 flavors of ice cream, fried clams, and hot dogs that families planned road trips around. The orange-roofed buildings were landmarks. Kids in the back seat would spot them from the highway and start screaming. Then McDonald's happened. Fast food was cheaper, quicker, and everywhere. Howard Johnson's tried to compete, but couldn't. The menu was too big. The restaurants were too expensive to run. One by one, the orange roofs went dark. By 2013, only 3 restaurants were left. The very last Howard Johnson's restaurant closed in 2022. All that survives is the hotel brand, and even those are disappearing. 1,000 restaurants, 28 flavors of ice cream, and a generation of road trip memories gone. Burger Chef. Here is a question. Who invented the kids' meal? If you said McDonald's, you are wrong. Burger Chef introduced the fun meal in 1973, a small burger, fries, a drink, a dessert, and a toy. McDonald's did not launch the Happy Meal until 1979, 6 years later. And that was not all. Burger Chef created the Big Chef, a double-decker burger with special sauce, years before the Big Mac existed. They pioneered flame broiling before Burger King made it famous. At their peak in the early 1970s, Burger Chef had over 1,000 locations. They were the second largest burger chain in the country, right behind McDonald's. But Burger Chef could not keep up with the marketing budgets of the giants. Ownership changed hands multiple times. In 1981, Hardee's bought the chain and started converting every Burger Chef into a Hardee's. By 1996, the name was completely gone. The company that invented the kids' meal, the double burger, and flame broiling left behind nothing, except the ideas that made its competitors billions. Chi-Chi's was the place where most Americans ate Mexican food for the first time. Founded in 1975, it grew into a chain of 230 restaurants serving chimichangas, nachos, and bottomless chips and salsa. For families in the Midwest and East Coast who had never been to Mexico, Chi-Chi's was Mexico. The chain filed for bankruptcy in October 2003. That alone would have been a quiet ending. 1 month later, a Chi-Chi's restaurant in Pennsylvania became the site of the largest hepatitis A outbreak in American history. Over 660 people were infected. 4 people died. The source was traced to contaminated green onions. The bankruptcy turned into a catastrophe. Every remaining restaurant closed within months. The Chi-Chi's brand still exists, but only as a line of jarred salsa you can buy at the grocery store. The restaurants are never coming back. Sambo's. At its peak in the late 1970s, Sambo's had over 1,100 locations. It was one of the largest pancake house chains in America, and its own name killed it. The founders were Sam Battistone and Newell Bonnet, Sam and Bo. They combined their names into Sambo's and opened the first restaurant in Santa Barbara in 1957. The problem was obvious. The name matched a racist children's book called The Story of Little Black Sambo. Instead of changing it, the owners leaned into the connection, decorating restaurants with imagery from the book. By the 1970s, communities across America began refusing permits for new locations. Lawsuits piled up. Protests erupted. The chain tried rebranding some locations as the Jolly Tiger, but it was too late. The damage was done. By 1982, the chain had fallen from over 1,100 restaurants to just one, the original location in Santa Barbara, which still operates today. It is perhaps the clearest example in American business history of how a name can destroy an empire. Victoria Station was unlike anything else in the 1970s. The restaurants were built inside actual railroad boxcars. You walked into a converted train car, sat down in a booth that used to haul freight, and ordered a steak. The decor was filled with railroad memorabilia, lanterns, signs, and old luggage. The concept was a hit. By the late 1970s, there were over 100 Victoria Station locations across the country. The chain became famous for prime rib and a salad bar served inside the train cars. But the novelty wore off. Running restaurants inside railroad cars turned out to be expensive and impractical. The cars were cramped. Maintenance was a nightmare. As the economy shifted in the 1980s, customers moved to newer, more modern restaurants. Victoria Station locations started closing one after another. The chain shrank for decades until just one restaurant remained in Salem, Massachusetts. It closed abruptly in December 2017. The train cars that once held crowds of steak lovers were hauled away for scrap. Bennigan's was one of the original casual dining chains, an Irish-themed pub that opened in 1976 and grew to over 300 locations. It was the place where families went for burgers, potato skins, and the Monte Cristo sandwich, a deep-fried ham and cheese that became the chain's signature dish. For 32 years, Bennigan's was a fixture in strip malls across America. Then on July 29, 2008, it all suddenly ended in a single day. The parent company filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy and immediately shut down every corporate-owned location. Employees showed up for their morning shifts and found the doors locked. No warning, no final paycheck. Just a note on the door. Franchise-owned locations tried to survive on their own, but most could not. 300 restaurants became a handful almost overnight. As of today, fewer than 10 Bennigan's still exist, scattered across a few states, serving Monte Cristos to the last loyal customers who remember what the chain used to be. Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. Arthur Treacher was not a chef. He was not a restaurateur. He was a British actor, best known for playing stuffy butlers in Hollywood movies and appearing as a sidekick on the Merv Griffin Show. Someone in Ohio decided that his proper British image was the perfect face for a fish and chips restaurant. The first Arthur Treacher's opened in 1969. By the late 1970s, there were 826 locations across the country. 826 restaurants, all named after an actor who had nothing to do with cooking fish. Then everything fell apart. Mrs. Paul's Frozen Fish Company bought the chain in the late 70s and sold it again within a few years. Bankruptcy followed in 1984. The restaurants closed by the hundreds. By 2021, only one Arthur Treacher's remained in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio, not far from where the whole thing started. 826 restaurants, built on the name of a man who played butlers in movies. Sometimes the American dream is stranger than fiction. These restaurants weren't just places to eat. They were where your parents took you after Little League, where you had your first date, where the waitress knew your family by name. And now they exist only in the memories of the people who ate there. We'll see you on the next Rewind.